We have 8 presenters here today, so we're going to be moving through. Everyone's got about 6 minutes to speak. If you could hold your questions to the end, we can make sure that we get through the panelists' talks quickly. When we get to the question and answer portion, please remember to use one of the microphones. If it's trouble to get to the microphone, I'm happy to deliver it to you. But we need to use those so that A, people can hear. Here I am not using a microphone, telling you to use a microphone. And, but because we're recording this, so it makes sure that everything is audible for everybody. So that's it. Our first speakers, they'll introduce themselves. Everything is in the Hoover app. Off we go.
Hello everyone, I'm Jenny Collinson. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing at Liverpool University Press. I'm joined today by Maureen P. Walsh, who's the Scholarly Sharing Strategist at the Ohio State University Libraries. We'll be talking to you a bit about open access initiatives from university presses and each giving our perspective. First, I will introduce 2 initiatives from Liverpool University Press. The first one is the Opening the Future Modern Languages package. It was created in partnership with COPIN, a collective of organizations working towards a not-for-profit publishing ecosystem outside of large commercial publishing. It is a transformative open access monograph initiative, and COPIN also work with Central European University Press on their Opening the Future initiatives as well. Libraries pay a fee and they gain access to the backlist of 2 leading modern languages series. That's Contemporary Hispanic and Lusophone Cultures and Liverpool Latin American Studies. And once a financial threshold is reached, as many of the frontlist titles as possible are flipped to open access. The 2 most recent titles can be seen on screen here. The second initiative is LUP Open Planning. That's a Subscribe to Open initiative. Libraries subscribe to the world's oldest planning journal, Town Planning Review, and its sister publication, International Development Planning Review. They gain access to the back archive going back to 1910. And again, once a financial threshold is reached, the current year's content is flipped to open access, and that's a total of 10 issues per year. The thinking behind both is that as budget availability depletes year on year for traditional models within the humanities, we want to preserve the legacy of the book series and the journals and the contribution, the very important contribution that they make to their disciplines. So what are the key benefits of both initiatives? I've outlined a few of them here. Collective library funding means no undue burden to any single institution. Worldwide membership is available and libraries aren't banded by size. Both initiatives are supported by lyricists who can assist with institutional membership. It's a 2-pronged approach to collection management and gives libraries the ability to demonstrate a commitment to open access at the same time. They both benefit the authors. The content is flipped with no fee for the author. And finally and most importantly, the content remains open access in perpetuity once flipped, ensuring that legacy and that contribution to the disciplines. And I'll now hand over to Maureen for her perspective.
Thank you. With the proliferation of open access initiatives seeking support from libraries, Jenny posed the question to me, why should libraries support open access initiatives from university presses? That's a great question, and I will try to unpack that a bit. For libraries with a values-driven collection development policy and open scholarship principles, mission-driven, nonprofit, academy-owned university presses check a lot of boxes for sure. But do we consider all university presses in the same way? Or should libraries, for example, evaluate open access programs from small and medium presses differently than large presses? The question of scale affects the whole ecosystem. The OA models of large presses, for example, include widespread read and publish agreements. Is there an outsized influence based on scale in either direction for the future of OA? And what is the impact of the differences in the current OA models, which include author site payment, subscribe to open, supporting memberships, backlist leverage to open front lists, open backlist collections, front list opened on a multi-year delay, as well as hybrids of those approaches? And the question Jenny asks is importantly not why should a library support, but why should libraries support? It is collective action that is inherent in the question. So at what scale do we lean in, and where did we decide to lean? Ohio State is prioritizing university presses as part of our aim to balance our portfolio of open access initiatives between the greater good of open scholarship and the return on investment for our institution and its authors and researchers. We are willing to invest in pilots and experimental models that seek to transform the scholarly publishing marketplace in globally positive ways, supporting good actors in our academy that aspire to the sustainability of high quality, mission-driven, and equitable open scholarship for us is the right thing to do. But it is in the support of collective action where we as institutions and members of consortia can tip the scales toward an open and equitable future for university press publishing. And by partnering with presses and working together to iterate and advance OA models, libraries can help move that future ever closer. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jackie Mann. I'm the Monograph Acquisitions Associate at Loyola University Chicago. Over the next few minutes, I will argue that outreach beyond the academic community can be beneficial to both the university library and to our partners in the community, and propose a few ways in which collection development activities in a technical services department can achieve such symbiotic partnerships. So initial research suggests that most work done in community outreach by academic libraries is access services focused through partnerships with K-12 schools and public libraries. Common activities include academic librarians providing instruction and research support or offering public patrons access to university resources. And these efforts have been proven time and time again to build networks and bridges between universities and community members. These results are really encouraging, but less has been published about other types of off-campus partnerships. So I asked the question, how can a technical services department innovate on these existing efforts? Over the past 2 years, the Monograph Acquisitions and Cataloging Department at Loyola University Chicago has explored ways to serve and connect with the community beyond our campus by more thoughtfully distributing our resources with minimal adjustments to our existing workflows and budgets. And our two main goals are to build mutually beneficial relationships with surrounding community members, businesses, and institutions, and to increase involvement with and enrollment at the university by spreading positive awareness of our presence and activities via the university libraries. So the first example in progress I want to highlight is our local acquisition partnerships. Starting in 2021, we began acquiring books for certain subject areas, mostly the popular reading collection, from local independent bookstores instead of from major providers. We adjusted our existing workflows to accommodate this change, and we've experienced very minimal cost differences. For example, over 1 year of the program, we spent a total of over $13,000 at independent bookstores within a 5-mile radius of the university's main campus. And several studies show that about 67% of money spent at local business remains within the community. So in this case, that's a total of over $9,000. And these stores at this point recognize us and trust us as returning patrons and regularly express their appreciation for our support. A few more details about the acquisition steps and costs. So we order the books directly from the bookstores, at which we have contacts. That usually just includes title, author, ISBN, and quantity. Most stores will give a discount of large orders, usually 10 to 15%, plus our tax exemption. Unlike with most larger suppliers, we do manually load bib records, create purchase orders, and later invoices into Ex Libris Alma. Books arrive within 1 to 2 weeks. Once we receive the books, we process them in-house, which is also different from someone like Gobi, with copy cataloging, proper labeling, and dust jacket covers, all of which we were already doing for other books. And I do have a cost per book breakdown approximate based on our 2-year sample, which does not include in-house labor costs, but I'm happy to talk more details about processing and costs later if anyone's interested. Another example in process is our local discard donations. So having historically used pretty much only Better World books and recycling for disposing of discarded print books, we've adjusted to also donate discards of selected content and good condition to local organizations as well. This effort mainly involves the time to sort discarded materials and coordinate their distribution. And the organizations we've worked with the most so far include Open Books, which is a Chicago-based organization using a similar model to Better World Books. They resell donated books and use the profits to give free books to Chicago youth and establish school libraries in Chicago public schools. And then Little Free Library, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, is a nationwide effort. There are dozens within walking distance of our campus, so we distribute the books ourselves, and we've created little bookmarks to place in the books so that community members know that the book was donated by us. So some conclusions and next steps. After 2 years, these efforts have been integrated essentially seamlessly into our ongoing work, and only minor fluctuations in staffing and spending have been observed. The bookstores and local charities we've partnered with have responded very positively to our involvement with them. We plan to continue the current efforts, and we hope that this outreach continues to support a positive public opinion of the institution, mutually beneficial partnerships in the community, and perhaps even recruitment to the university. Some next steps are to consider how to measure the success of our outreach programs, consider ways to gauge public opinion as it currently stands of the university libraries, and to grow our efforts. So we want to continue looking for more opportunities to incorporate outreach into the work of the Technical Services Department. There are my million references, and thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm Rochelle McLean, the Collection Development Librarian at Montana State University. I'm here with Hannah McKelvey, the library's e-resources and discovery services librarian. So, at the 2021 Charleston Conference, we shared our thoughts about collection development outreach. We highlighted specific projects we were involved in to bring awareness to our work. And we heard from our users that they didn't understand collection development. They didn't get that we had a budget. Where does that money come from? They didn't understand pricing or how licensing worked. And so because of a few interactions that we had, sorry. Thank you. Oh, yeah, oops, no. Oh my gosh, we're messing up already. Anyway, because of a few interactions, thank you. I've got my own. Because of those few interactions, we thought, oh my gosh, people are they love hearing about this work. They are so grateful to hear from us. So now we've convinced ourselves that we had a need for collection development focused outreach, but it turns out that we failed to really provide context for anything. We ended up overwhelming and maybe even boring our listeners, the ones who actually showed up to our presentations. They actually don't need or want those nitty-gritty details, but we do stand by our belief that there is a need, but maybe not to the scale that we thought. Oh, goodness. Okay. So here's the feedback we received from maybe some of you at the 2021 Charleston conference. We had a lot of attendees, and it really did affirm what we concluded, which was that everyone agreed that our technical services and collection development work should not be invisible. Let me say that again. It's not invisible. We should be talking about it. It's really tough to do collection development outreach. At times, it can even be a bit demoralizing. We do agree with that sentiment that we should keep our expectations reasonable. And there will be times we'll feel like we're only talking to our library coworkers. But let's not remember that that is enough, because those library employees, the public services librarians and staff especially, they're gonna reach others. And then this work is important, and we should continue to bring our information to faculty whenever we get the chance, but on a modified scale.
So what went wrong in our original approach? Well, we shared information as if everyone knew what we were talking about, and this came from our own excitement about our work. We really like what we do, and we were like, everybody else needs to love it too, and they don't. So this excitement and enthusiasm led to us sharing too many of the nitty-gritty details, and this isn't what our audience wanted or needed. During our outreach efforts, we also presented information as if we were seeking confirmation from our audience that our work was important and impactful, and we expected that our audience would automatically validate those feelings through our outreach work. And lastly, our outreach work wasn't point of need. We expected our users to come to our information sessions rather than seek out opportunities to share information with the right people at the right times. But we have learned a lot over the last couple of years. We are the experts, we are professionals, we do not need that validation. User feedback is important, however, we don't always need to adjust our decisions based on what our users tell us. Hearing their concerns and fears and addressing those or being empathetic is enough. And we now know that we need to clearly say what we came to say, and from there, we ask if there are questions, not suggestions about modifying or changing our decisions. We're no longer in a place of seeking permission, if you will, about how we do our work. We're also much more intentional about the wording we use in our outreach efforts. For example, if we know that we have the provost in our audience, we are very intentionally going to use words like retention, diversify, fiscal responsibility, all those buzzwords that we know that are going to resonate with certain audiences. And this intentionality means that we don't share all the details. We try our best to share what's relevant at the time that we're sharing it. And so, in summary, the main things that we learned through our outreach efforts. As you start planning outreach events or you're invited to speak to a group on campus, ask them exactly what they want to know. Don't assume that you know what they want to know. This will help you share what you need to share. You will get a question or a comment out of left field, perhaps not even directly related to what you're talking about. Just expect that to happen and be confident in your answer. Then, even if your answer to that question is, I don't know, I don't have an answer, but I'll get back to you, that is a good enough answer. Know your audience and tailor what you share for that audience. This means, again, using those words intentionally. This means connecting what you're saying to your university's strategic plan, for example. Make it count. And tell your audience the truth. Libraries are the middleman between users and a broken system, for example. Say that with confidence. Don't let them pin the library as the bad guy, because remember, you are the expert in the room. Thank you.
Hello, I am Laurie Aycock. I'm a collection development and a government information librarian at Kennesaw State University, and today I'm going to be talking to you about some of our journey of our collection development unit so far. So as I mentioned, I'm from Kennesaw State University. We are a comprehensive university in Northwest Metro Atlanta. We have 2 campuses that are about 10 miles apart from each other, and there's 1 library on each campus. Our university has experienced rapid growth, over 12,000 students in about 8 years. This has boosted us to be the 3rd largest university in Georgia. So narrowing down to our collection development unit, we first presented about this at a Charleston poster in 2018, detailing the growth of our unit from what was the collection development unit, or collection development librarian, to a team of 7 people. At first, our director was doing all the work herself, so we expanded it, monographs and e-resources, collection analysis. We moved the government documents collection into collection development, the management of that, and also our liaison program was moved into collection development. At that time, all librarians did liaison work, including selecting for 1 to 2 departments, outreach, and instruction. So that worked very well. We were happy with where we were. But as in most stories, there were plot twists, just like life threw all of us a plot twist in 2019, 2020. We had a lot of things happen in the library those years. First thing, we had a library reorganization. The library was divided into 2 academic departments, so sort of front of the house public services, and then library resources. So that changed things, affecting us. The liaison program was revamped to a collegiate model so that not all selectors, the public services librarians did the instruction and the outreach, and then librarians and library resources did the selecting for monographs. So that led to our liaison coordinator position being revised to a collection strategist position. And also our digital commons team, which is our institutional repository, was moved into collection development. So that meant by fall 2022, we were a team of 9 people. And you can see those listed there. The collection development, government information is my position. We have a monographs management librarian who manages our weeding project. She has a 5-year plan we are weeding hopefully the entire collection in that time. Electronic resource management, the collection strategist, our institutional repository team, and then 2 paraprofessionals supporting our work. But it doesn't end there. In 2023, earlier this year, our longtime Dean of Librarians retired. We had an interim appointed and now a permanent Associate Vice President at our university. Museums, archives, and rare books are a separate department from the library. Now we're being brought back together again, which is something we're very excited about. But this brings another library reorganization. The 2 departments didn't work. We had 2 department chairs, 2 promotion committees, 2 bylaws. So we're bringing that back into 1 department. And what's happening now is it looks like technical services, systems, and collection development will be in 1 unit with 1 director, and having working teams instead. So what we're looking at is my position is moving to a collection strategist role, not just monographs. We have our collection analysis librarian. The stacks management team is being moved from access services into our unit to work with our monographs management librarian. So they'll be assisting with weeding projects, both in the general collection and with government documents, as well as the shifting and print management that they already do. Our e-resources, looks like we'll have a librarian in our team doing contracts negotiations for that, and then several support staff. Our institutional repository team is being moved to the academic engagement as a part of a scholarly communications team, so we hate to lose them. So in our story, there has been lots of room for character development. All this change, you learn that the only constant is change. It's messy, but it's also exciting. I'm very excited in my new role. I'm learning to be the collection strategist, developing a strategy for our university that we haven't had before. And I've also found communication is key. When you're alone, when you isolate yourself, it's not good. So when possible, ask questions, talk to your teammates. I'm fortunate that our new AVP has an open door policy. Anything, if we want to meet with her, all we have to do is ask. And make sure to take care of yourself during this process. Finally, our story, we don't know where it ends yet. It's to be continued, but as our friend Bilbo Baggins said in The Fellowship of the Ring, don't adventures ever have an end? I suppose not. Someone else always has to carry on the story. Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay. I do want to apologize right off the bat. You're getting Stuart Brower. My co-authors are not able to be here with me. Bethy's the really knowledgeable one. Tony is the one who speaks really well, and Zane's the fun one. So for the next 5.5 minutes, basically, you get me. So Schusterman Library at the University of Oklahoma Tulsa is a satellite campus of the University of Oklahoma and the University of Oklahoma Health Sciences Center. We actually support 13 different programs on campus that include things like medicine, nursing, allied health, right alongside engineering, education, social work, and a bunch of other programs. We are a very small campus. During the lockdown period of the pandemic, during the summer of 2020, I came up with the idea of teaching a comic book class online to library school students. It took off beyond my wildest dreams, and I ended up then saying, what else can we do with this, including proposing a class for the library school that got accepted. Very excited about that. But I went to Tony Hobrecht, our collection manager and technical services librarian, and I said, hey, what do you think about putting together a collection of nonfiction graphic novels? This is not something that we had tried before. We put together a budget of $2,000, which was way more money than what we actually needed for the thing, and got to work. We developed a cute little logo, and here in a minute I'll show you the actual collection itself. There are a lot of different, if you will, themes that we have collected around. Now, collection development policy for the collection is we try to find materials that support the various programs that are on our campus, and that is fantastic. But you tend to find that things break into these various categories overall. A lot of memoir, a lot of history, a lot of community education and other similar types of works. All right, 6 minutes. I don't get a lot of time to chastise people. So to chastise the publishing industry, there are no good resources for finding graphic nonfiction. And in fact, a lot of the catalogs are damn misleading. You can get into it and accidentally purchase works that were really intended for like a K through 3 audience, where you thought this would be something really cool for all of the biological science majors on campus. No, we need better resources from which to select these types of materials. But that being said, the Wikipedia award list, Penn State, the Oxford series, and definitely Publishers Weekly have been helpful in getting us to the right spot. This is the collection development policy in brief, but for the most part, yes, we're trying to collect comics, graphic novels. Do you ever feel weird saying nonfiction graphic novels? By the way, that's just a dumb turn of phrase. Graphic nonfiction for now, that support the various programs on our campus. When we first put the collection together, the idea was, let's get this damn thing done. So we were buying things quickly, getting them on the shelf quickly. That meant copy cataloging. Copy cataloging led to, well, a horrible collection. It was not browsable, not even in the least. Almost all of the comics end up under literature and comics for some reason, and then you've got just a big old jumbled mess. What this led to was that we took a few months, completely reorganized the collection, and went through and put them in according to their various categories. That was Bethy, by the way, the knowledgeable one. And if you have questions for her, she loves talking about this stuff. She happens to be on her honeymoon right now, so give her a week. When she gets back, she'll be ready to talk. She did consult the best practices for cataloging comics and graphic novels using RDA Mark 21, and this is a fantastic resource. We highly recommend it to everyone who is pursuing this kind of work. My timer has turned itself off. I have no idea how much time I have left. This, 2 minutes? Fantastic, look at this. This is great. I got 2 whole minutes. I'm gonna blow this time. You're looking at a picture of the collection right now. One of the nice things about the collection is that we were able to put the entire thing on our old periodical shelves, and that meant everything faces out for the most part, which makes it a very browsable collection. And as a result, it is currently the most circulating collection in our building. Students come through, find things that they love, and walk right on out the door with them. Sometimes they even check them out. It's led to a lot of publicity for the library, which has been fantastic, but the bigger thing about it is that we've been able to build a lot of programming for our campus and the campus community, a number of workshops and things like that that we've done. but additionally a lot of departmental connections that we've made. The Architecture and Urban Design Studio has consulted with us on matters related to visual literacy. That's been fantastic. I think up there I've got the Center for Democracy and Culture. That's also a really good fit with the political sciences stuff. 1 minute left. And the Art and Medicine elective through the medical school, which has been a good fit for us as well. Okay, there's hardly any time left, so we'll just go ahead and go to the thank you, but I'm gonna leave this QR code up for a minute because the QR code is kind of cool. It takes you to the library's webpage where we've got, actually this is all about graphic scholarship, and a link to the catalog where you can get to the now, I think, 400 odd titles that we have collected for this, and it continues to grow at a rate of about 20 or so titles a month. At that rate, we may very well end up being the core list / bibliography that everybody wishes that they had. So please go visit it. If you got questions about it, get in touch with any one of the 4 of us. We are happy to talk about comics. And I think I'm done. Thank you. That's beautiful.
Hello everyone, I'm Kimberly Foster and this is Eric Resniss and we're from Coastal Carolina University, just 2 hours up, 17, and we're here to talk today about refreshing our education collection.
All right, every story of renewal has a history, and so this collection, from what we can determine best, started off as a media collection. So from the late 90s into the early 2000s, it contained items of a curriculum collection, juvenile, YA, kits, but also had the compact discs, the LPs, VHS recordings, DVDs as well. At that time, it also had a librarian that was dedicated to the collection, and it was its own service point. Over time, things changed, and that librarian retired around 2008. The position was not replaced, and the collection went into a period of neglect. Until 2019, when both of us took the charge as part of a comprehensive look at every physical item in the library to look at this collection, get rid of what was not being used, and to renew it.
So as with any large collection project, as library budget declines and the cost of subscriptions go up, it was sort of, where do we find the money to make up for 10 years of very little change? So grant funding came into it, and we're very lucky that the Horry County Higher Education Commission offers yearly grants, not very large grants, to education programs and to fund centers and ideas that will benefit the whole county. And as we have a School of Education at Coastal, where most of our students graduate to work in the local community, we're able to convince them to give us $16,000.
And so from the beginning, we knew our focus was not trying to figure out what education majors might want. Our focus was, what would educators need as they prepared to go to the local school system and as they were teachers in the local school system. And when I say local school system, most districts in the South tend to be county-wide, and our district has 50,000 students. So it's extremely large. And we decided from the beginning we were going to focus on looking at the elementary level, keep that more in scope for us. And so we asked questions from the media specialists, STEM teachers, because in our local district STEM is a special. Also teachers that came from Coastal in the district, and also interns or student teachers that were still with the university. And we asked for 4 basic questions as to what do they teach, what materials do they use, and also with media specialists we looked at what do teachers request, and with STEM, what materials do students best respond to. And the needs that surfaced, the major need was increased non-English books. So around 10% of students in Horry County, our local county, English is not their first language. And so we worked with the school to figure out what languages could we best suit, and 6 came to the top. otherwise kits that the county used that met their curriculum but that we did not have, such as Project Leading the Way. More teachers editions. Usually when a teacher has an intern, they give the intern their teacher edition, and so it'd be helpful to have more. And then also more current items, STEM items, robotics, and also guided reading kits. So a kit that goes from one level, and as a student progresses, there's a set of books at each level.
So our purchase categories. So the categories we originally thought we would use when we, applied for the grant changed a little bit after we did all of these interviews. But we ended up with sort of two groups of items, books of several types, and then the sort of physical media items. So for the book categories, we collected a lot more picture books, some oversized books, and YA books as well. And due to time constraints with the grant, what we did through, I found a really comprehensive list of children's book awards, and then just went through and bought the last 3 or 4 years of awards from all of those lists that we didn't already have. We bought books in those 6 non-English languages. I mostly had to source those off of Amazon. So we did find it interesting to, get the same book in multiple languages. As we thought that would be an interesting comparison. And out of the interviews that we had, we got books from guided reading list A through Z, and Scholastic was really good about that. They list them on their site, like what the level is. And then we also bought kits like boxes of Legos, these VEX kits that are in use in Horry County STEM schools, and things like that. So some purchase considerations is one-time purchases only, no subscriptions. The kits had to be complete. We're not in the business of restocking Q-tips and rubber bands every time an item is returned, and everything had to be lendable.
So, has this been a success? And we're very short of time, and we're still very much in the process, but the answer is yes. Circulation has gone up in all areas, and this is especially crucial because right now all of our books are in off-site storage in preparation for a major renovation. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I am Marcia Masters, and I co-created this presentation with 2 of my colleagues, Kara Cadena and Jeff Daniels. And I'm not going to read our job titles because I think Kara's alone will take my 6 minutes. But essentially, the 3 of us, along with a couple of other colleagues, make up what we informally consider our collections team at Grand Valley State University. So to lay some groundwork here, the next several slides are going to talk about some of the changes that we've made in the way that we approach our work and our collection decisions. So this slide is just listing some of the factors that motivated those changes. I'm sure that most of you in this room can relate to some, if not all, of these factors, but things like staff turnover, all of the ways that the pandemic impacted our work, a flat collections budget, evolving user needs, and some major system migrations. So to start kind of bigger picture, philosophical changes, I'll highlight a couple of changes that we've implemented in the last few years. We moved from a just-in-case to a just-in-time purchasing approach for our one-time purchases. We've also strived to open lines of communication internally and externally that previously didn't exist or were much more layered in their nature. So internally, our systems, technical services, and collections teams all work more directly and more consistently with one another than they have in the past. And then external to the library, we've opened direct lines of communication with our teaching faculty and administrators, being much more transparent about our budget limitations in terms of what resources we can provide to support their research and teaching. At a more granular level, we simplified our fund codes, and then we also set up multi-year projections to help inform the collection decisions we're making today, so that we know the short and long-term impact on our on our budget. More recently, we've made some position changes, creating new positions as well. So highlighting a few here, Up until September, I was the Acquisitions and E-Resources Librarian, but over the last several months, I've been working with Jeff to hand over the e-resource management pieces of my previous position. We realized that work really needed and deserved a full-time position, and it had that in the past. So he's taken on that new role. My job has now my plate has opened up a little bit, and now not only acquisitions, but I'm going to start focusing on collection data analysis, which we know is going to become more and more critical as we move forward. And another new position that was created recently is our ILL coordinator position. And historically in our library, document delivery or interlibrary loan has been retained within our access services department, but this new position actually resides within our collections team. Just another way to have a direct line of communication, and again, ILL data in terms of collection data analysis is going to be really important moving forward. So in the last few years, we have gone through some major system migrations, and of course these migrations have forced us to change the way that we process items, set up access. And so in December 2019, we migrated from Summon to EDS, EBSCO Discovery Service. In July 2020, we went live with Folio, migrating from Sierra. And then this last August, we went live with Folio's OPAC Locate. And upcoming as a campus, in January, we go live with Workday, migrating from Banner, so that my acquisitions work will be impacted to a great extent. Some workflows changes, we just wanted to highlight a few here. E-resource renewals in the past at our library were fairly cumbersome and involved a lot of different library staff members. We realized that it was not effective or efficient, and we simplified it. We've also leveraged Folio's functionality in order to make sure that all of the stakeholders within the library are on the same page with the renewal status. Just prior to the pandemic, we set up a DVD digitization service I'm sure all of you can relate, or some of you can relate, that we started to get an influx of streaming film requests. And of course, those licenses are not always available, so we wanted to be able to offer our teaching faculty an alternative to those licenses. E-resource usage reporting, we in the past had a staff member pulling this manually on a monthly basis, and we have now moved to an annual or ad hoc approach. We've also set up sushi for some of our major providers. So creating connections, building relationships. We have really leaned on our vendor relationships, try to be good partners. We're always willing to beta test or provide feedback for new products, and we found that just has helped build rapport with them, and it's very beneficial come negotiating time. Cost sharing, that is actually, we've entered into a few different cost sharing agreements with other colleges on campus as they've come to us requesting resources that we know we're not going to be able to afford on our own. So we have become much more, again, that transparent communication with our teaching faculty and other colleges. And that is all I've got. So.
Good afternoon. My name is Bobby Hollingsworth. I'm a research librarian at Cooper Library on the campus of Clemson University. And what I'm going to talk to you today about is Libraries Film DEI, a do-it-yourself approach, kind of what we've done over the years, going back way before I got there, but what we've kind of kept doing. Okay, so first off, by the numbers. DVDs, how many do we have? We have 7,754 DVDs. Currently there's 120 DVDs checked out. Most checked out, got The Godfather at 1, 209, Office Space, 208, and the complete first season of The Sopranos. I don't know what that says about our users, but I think I just felt like including it because I thought it was pretty funny. 2 years ago, we ordered 171 DVDs in the fiscal year 2021-2022. Next year, last year we ordered 209. This year so far we've ordered 68, and we're probably going to hit around that 200 range this year as well. Okay, what do we order? We order everything, okay? International, popular, independent, and documentaries. If it gets a good rating and it's on DVD, I'm gonna buy it. Okay, we take suggestions, we get staff's suggestions, faculty, and this kind of goes from there. So I'll order pretty much anything. Okay, the elephant in the room. DVD and streaming. I'm not delusional, at least not this part. DVD is not dead. Some would argue that. Streaming is much more convenient. We'll talk about other stuff with streaming and DVD, but I just want to make sure that you know I don't live under a rock. I know what's going on in the world. So. We do both, DVD and streaming, and we do both of them, and hopefully it's not a competition. We're not trying to run one off the road or whatever. Hopefully that's the case, you know. And we have different needs. When I say different needs, we've got faculty who want the convenience, I'll talk about that in a minute, of having, you know, the films they want for their students convenient, so they'll watch them. You know, the old days of coming in reserves and doing that, this just isn't gonna work anymore, and I understand that. And as far as DVDs, I compare it to vinyl, right? Records and vinyl. It's a fictional act. You go in, you get the DVD. We actually rent out players, so you know most laptops, computers don't have players on them anymore, but we rent those out, so that's something we can do. Cost of convenience. Cost of DVDs, $5 to $25. Pretty easy, right? Convenience of streaming. So you have to kind of balance those two things. The convenience of it, and I guess the non-convenience of DVD. Other things, ownership and renting. Okay? With DVDs, you're gonna own them. You buy them, you own them. Okay? With streaming, you're renting. You might get it for a semester, you might get it for a year, you might get it 3 years, and the costs are, you know, back to cost of convenience. So things to consider. And think about ownership preservation. You know, it's the mission of many libraries, especially academic libraries, to preserve those things that occurred in the past, you know, occurred in the you know, in the present for those in the future. And that's the whole idea of ownership and preservation. So DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion with film. First off, you're getting different perspectives. I mentioned international films before. International perspective, marginalized perspective, multiple perspectives, okay? Buying widely will increase your diversity and inclusion, an ongoing theme of librarianship, and in particular this conference. How do we diversify? How do we get more diversity? The lower cost of DVDs allows you to buy more. The more films, the more diversity, the more inclusion. Okay, you get more buying power. Will not break the bank, will not break your budget. We put a few $1,000s towards it, and it pays off, I think, down the road as far as preservation and all those kind of things. Roughly, I would say 15 to 20% of DVDs purchased are of an international flavor of some sort. Okay. Okay. In the end, film is about storytelling, and there are lots of stories to be told, and you just have to look. All right. And more importantly than that, you probably want to know, did I buy Barbie? And yes, we bought Barbie, and it's already checked out several times. So I'll leave you with that. I appreciate your time and attention. Thank you.
So if we could get all the speakers to either a couple of seats or just be available, the floor is now open for questions.